Hello and welcome to C++ Weekly. I am your host, Jason Turner. In this episode, I am going to hopefully demonstrate how to get started quickly with GUI development in C++ using the FLTK library. This is an actively maintained open source GUI framework that is pretty small and relatively simple to use. I've never really used it before. In fact, I just am aware of it because cross-platform GUI frameworks is one of my hobbies. I am going to start with my CMake template, and if you're familiar with this channel, then you're probably familiar with this template, although I haven't mentioned it in quite some time. I did just go through a couple of days of effort to make sure that everything is working well. Now, you might notice that there's an X right here telling us that we have a build failure. Now, the build failure is kind of expected. It's a complaint that code coverage did not increase on the last patch. Well, I'm not aiming for full code coverage here, so I guess that's a thing. We're going to go ahead and hit this use this template button, and I'm going to hit create a new repository. This will go ahead and be a public repository, and therefore you should be able to access it once this is done. It is important after you do this, use this template button, to sit back and wait for a minute, because there are a few important tasks that have to run to update all of the things to represent the name of the project that you are actually working on now. There are two different cleanup tasks that are happening here. One is the renames a new template. If I were to have forked this to create a new template, like you can use this in your own organization, and you rename the template itself, then it knows how to rename its own self. If you are actually creating a project from this template, then it goes by a different process, and that's what we're waiting to complete on here. We can see that we already have two pull requests waiting for us because GitHub Actions has determined that there's other actions by Dependabot that need to be updated. Okay, there we go. We can see that it has renamed the project and automatically pushed a new commit so that it has the proper names of the project in here. And now it actually says FLTK example for the project name. I am getting some code coverage reporting, and I do have fresh build kicking off on here. So we're probably in the green to go ahead and check this out locally. Yes, Sea Lion, JetBrains are sponsors of this channel. However, I'm going to demonstrate doing this all from the command line for the moment, instead of using any sort of IDE. I do recommend using IDEs, but I want to show you the actual steps that are involved here. Project is checked out. And I'm going to just run CMake on one folder up here. I'm not going to do anything trickier than that. Well, I might specify that I want Ninja for my build generator. Ninja's pretty handy. Make sure you have Ninja installed before you do this. This is going to automatically find all the dependencies that are needed, download them, compile them as necessary. Okay, this has done the thing. It has downloaded our dependencies. But we don't necessarily need all of these dependencies. This was originally built as a demonstration for using the FTX UI console thing. But we want to update this to using FLTK. As you can see, this tool is actually updated pretty often. Okay, let's go ahead and set up the latest build to be used in our project. And that was 1.4.2, which was released on February 23rd, 2 months ago at the time of the recording of this episode. You can see the release tag is release-1.4.2. I need to use the hashtag, whatever, #, Octothorpe. to say release dash 1.4.2, because if I use the @ sign here with CPM, I'm using CPM to automatically download and build these packages for us, it's going to try to add a V on the front of that for version number, V release 142. We're just going to use the hash here. Now notice it automatically detected that change in my dependencies, so it's going to go ahead and download that and now build it. Expected build failure here because I am still trying to use FTX UI instead of FLTK. And it's time for us to fix that. Does it make sense to still have this project called FTX UI example? Probably not. Notice I'm updating the libraries that I link to. I have my own personal tools library in here because I was using it for some safe numeric kind of stuff. Non-promoting integer specifically. And I need to change which directories are included. And now I need this main to actually do something reasonable. This is not a FTX UI game. This is going to be a very, very simple FLTK GUI application. I may as well go ahead and leave the command line parser in here. So this is something that we can play with later. But I don't need these options. Let's get rid of those. And go ahead and leave in it here the very basic, simple project version printing so that we know that that feature still works. All right, now we're going to steal a simple hello world example for FLTK now. The question is, should we steal it from the website or should we steal it from, I don't know, ChatGPT? Oh, what the heck. Okay, this is a simple FLTK demo window and I don't love this. Let's see, it's a button, a callback on quit. The button at no point is part of the window. So I'm not sure this is accurate. It automatically adds the button to the current window being constructed as long as I'm between new window and end. That is fascinating. Well, let's go ahead and see if GPT is right. I don't like this code, but we will give it a shot. Okay, my warnings as errors have caught a few things in this code. As you can see, it has explicit formal parameters for a widget and a data, and neither one of these things are being used. It uses void pointers. I'm not going to pretend like FLTK is the paramount of modern best practices for C++ design or anything like that. So let's go ahead and clean up a few of these things so that we can get this actually compiling. Slightly annoying that it won't let me use const char star here because it expects a non-const array. By default, my build script here for CMake is using address sanitizer, link time optimization. That's why you see slower linking and a bunch of other things. So hopefully we got a pretty good safe build here. Let's just double check. So this is the FLTK example flags here. Address sanitizer is enabled, undefined behavior sanitizer is enabled. So this should be good. If this thing has memory leaks, we'll know it. And in the source FLTK example intro binary, let's go ahead and run this. And look, there's a quit button. I can hit it. The program quits. It had no address sanitizer or undefined behavior sanitizer errors. So there you have it. There is a very simple example of using FLTK. This was pretty straightforward and fast, but we're going to do one other thing. Let's go ahead and wrap this up though. We have a simple demo application working And this is what I would say quick start to GUI development. This was really fast, but I have no idea how well this is going to work on the CI. So let's go ahead and add the changes and commit them and push them up to GitHub and see what we get. I have a lot of different configurations in here, and it might be in your best interest if you use this template project to go ahead and try to prune some of these, because it's a lot. It's probably more than you need, but we are testing LLVM, or Clang, and GCC on Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and Visual Studio. I have no idea how well this FLTK is going to work on any of these platforms. This does require OpenGL headers, so I will not be surprised at all if we get failures on the CI. And those are things that we would have to deal with to make sure that the OpenGL headers are in fact available. Okay, it's time to wrap this up, and let's talk about what went right and what went wrong. It's taken me like 6 commits to get things mostly passing on the CI. Now, the first problem that we have is MSVC cl.exe doesn't like FLTK because of deprecated POSIX str dupe commands, which is probably pretty fair, but I can't get it compiling with the Visual Studio cl.exe, and that's a bit of a pain. Other things that went wrong was all of the official FLTK examples use a naked new, and this is going to look like a memory leak to all of our static analysis tools, but that's okay. We can safely use make unique instead, which is what this code currently does. Now, what we did wrong, and by we I mean we should have created a new branch for this whole setup stuff. But what went well, the whole use template process worked great. It worked exactly like I wanted it to. I was able to hit use this template. I was able to give it a name. Everything forked and did what it was supposed to do. We did kind of have to go and poke at CodeCov, so be aware of that. What could be better is sometimes the CPP dependencies installer tool that we use times out. If anyone is interested in contributing to this, we might want a more complete example, and we need to fix the MSVC builds. Otherwise, this project is forkable and ready to go. I've been recording for, an hour and a half so far, but I had the thing working in like 15 minutes. That's a little disappointing, but we're using a library that I've never used before, and I'm guessing you've never used before. So we did have to spend a fair bit of time on the CI figuring out exactly what it wanted from us. And this is always a pain point for using continuous integration across multiple platforms and multiple compilers. Now, I recently tweeted about this, posted on all the different social media platforms, and I got a bunch of people telling me that I should just use the same exact tool set locally as is on the CI. Those are words coming from people who don't do cross-platform development with relatively little effort. 1.5 hours. Let's call that little effort. We have Windows, Linux, and Mac OS builds of a GUI program. Just like that. We can, if we wanted to, go tag this thing, and it's going to automatically create packages and upload those packages on the release on GitHub. Like, that all should work here. So anyhow, like I said, I'm going to leave this here. Anyone who wants to come and play with it, this is going to be at lefticus/FLTK example on GitHub. So yeah, play with it, contribute, I don't know, have fun. Thank you for watching this episode of C++ Weekly. I'm going to edit this down to far less than an hour and a half, but hopefully you thought this episode was interesting. It was a mixed bag. I didn't know what was going to happen when I got into it, but we did get something working. So thanks again for watching.